Welcome back to the Core Careers Podcast. Today, I'm continuing my conversation with Dr. Mathew Knowles, where we will discuss managing his life and career following his cancer diagnosis. Enjoy. Can you tell us a little bit about your diagnosis and just your journey of finding out that you had this cancer?
Well, again, I like the word context. When I worked at Xerox Medical Systems, what I sold was zero radiography, which in the 80s was the leading modality for breast cancer detection.
Wow.
It was the leading modality, and I was fortunate to be the number one sales rep worldwide at Xerox Medical System 3 out of 4 years, which means I really had to know my stuff because I'm dealing with radiologists, and you got to know your stuff when you're dealing with doctors. One day I saw these, imagine a white sheet of paper and you just took a red ink pen and you just put 3 or 4 dots on a white sheet of paper. I saw when I took off my t-shirt, that's what it looked like. And I didn't think anything the first day because I knew my wife had gotten new t-shirts, and I didn't know that sometimes you get these irregular t-shirts and stuff that have different colors, and so I didn't know if that's what it was. And the second day I saw it again, and then the third day I was like, wait a minute. So I said to my wife, I said, Gina, this is the third day in a row I've seen these little dots of blood. And she says, that's really interesting because when I clean the sheets the last 3 or 4 days, on your side of the bed, there's been these little drops of blood. And I knew immediately what that meant.
You did?
I used to sell the equipment. The training that we had back in the 80s, the same number, 1% supposedly, and I use the word supposedly, we'll talk about that why, of men are diagnosed with breast cancer. I choose not to use that word, breast cancer. And I don't know, it's not the medical correct word. I choose to use male chest cancer. And I choose to use that word because I've found that a lot of men, especially Black men, they're embarrassed and ashamed to bring up that topic. And so if I can message, I'm in the messaging business, I'm a marketer. If I can message it a different way by saying male chest cancer, and if I can save one man's life because they listen, because sometimes you use words and people close, their brains shut down, they're not gonna go there with you. But if I can use those words and save someone's life, I chose to do that. So male chest cancer is what I was diagnosed with. Again, I knew immediately, had a mammogram, then an ultrasound, then a biopsy, all in 1 week. And the next week, I had surgery. But inside of that, I learned something. I didn't understand genetics. And that's what I learned, is that my male chest cancer wasn't based around the breast cancer. It was based around BRCA2, what we call BRCA2 genetics, without getting very technical. It simply means that my genes, they're supposed to protect me from cancer. They're mutated. And so in 4 areas, prostate cancer, melanoma, pancreatic cancer, and male chest cancer. Those 4 things for men, if you're BRCA2 mutated, it just simply means you have a higher risk of getting those diseases. And there's a lot of men walking around thinking that it was prostate cancer, when in fact it was male chest cancer that started. And by the time it got to prostate, it might have been too late because they hadn't did, and that's a simple saliva test you can get to understand your BRCA genes for both cancer and cardiovascular disease. It's a $200 investment that could save your life. That's non-invasive. Again, it's just you saliva sample and you melt it back off, and they can tell you, you have a higher risk of having this. And that's the message I message is get a genetic test, not an ancestral test, a genetic test to understand your risk for cancer and cardiovascular disease.
You also advocate the screening process as well, right?
Absolutely do as well. Of getting mammograms, knowing your family history. I can go all the way back to my grandmother's sister. She died of breast cancer. My mother's sister died of breast cancer. 2 of her 3 daughters died of breast cancer.
Wow.
And it's, and the same on my dad. Through this process, I never knew that my dad has 5 brothers and 4 of them died of prostate cancer. My grandfather died of prostate cancer. So you see the connection with that BRCA for prostate and male chest cancer and breast cancer for women. And those 2 things, is early diagnosis, and you get that by simply getting a mammogram if you're a woman.
Right.
Now I'm focused now on conversations more on females, and knowing your family history. And if you have a family history, being proactive. It's a simple thing, just being proactive.
Tell me about how this challenged your career at the same time. Because you're going through this medical transition, right? You have to take care of yourself. At the same time, your life, your business around you is still continuing. How did you juggle both of these things at the same time?
Well, I'm very fortunate. I'm very grateful. And I always say, I'm very hesitant when I use the word cancer survivor. I'm very hesitant. I am cancer-free today. It doesn't mean I'm cancer-free tomorrow. So I'm very hesitant.
I like it.
And it meant for me, because I was fortunate to find at stage 1A, which is a very early stage, that I didn't have to do chemo. I take 1 pill a day that I'll take for the next, this is literally the anniversary. It's tomorrow, actually.
Well, congratulations.
It'll be a two-year anniversary. So I have 3 more years of taking this 1 pill a day, getting my routine mammograms, getting my routine MRI, because I get a MRI of my pancreas. I do a blood test for my prostate. I go an extra step because I used to sell MRI and I'm very comfortable inside of an MRI. I go a second step for my prostate. And I work very hard. 3 things. Not that I was a heavy drinker, but I stopped drinking alcohol. At one point in my life, I was a heavy drinker, but at that point in my life, I wasn't. But I completely stopped drinking alcohol. I started exercising. I couldn't jog 2 blocks. I could jog 1 block. I got up to 2 miles on exercising. I probably less than 5% I eat meat, and if I do, it's chicken and fish. Mainly I eat vegetables and fruit. I'm in an intermittent fast. COVID, I gained maybe 10 pounds, but I'm now back. I'm only 7 pounds over my weight requirement, because obesity is a real challenge in health. So I worked very hard on that. But it was a lifestyle change. Fortunately, it didn't have very much impact on my career. If anything, it had a positive impact because I lived a different lifestyle. I have more energy now. So in a positive way, it really helped. not a negative.
Dr. Knowles, you are a Renaissance man. You seek out therapy. You take preventative measures. You go to the doctor willingly. These are all the things that sometimes in our community is not a thing. Are you helping other men that are similar to you, using your platform? Do you feel like that is going to give you an opportunity to speak to other, to our community and the other men in the community as well?
Yeah, this is something a platform that I speak on all the time. Especially October is coming up, and October now they're using the word male finally, but October was mainly dedicated for breast cancer for women. That's changing. So I speak on multiple platforms throughout the year on health and wellness, overall health and wellness, not just male chest cancer or breast cancer, but overall health and wellness, because there's some commonalities that happens in the Black community. Some things that we have to be aware of, some things we have to change, and that's early detection. Structural racism plays into that as well when we start talking about health and wellness and the opportunities that Blacks get. There's a new bill that's going before Congress coming up where research has found that racism does exist in our healthcare system, that if Blacks go to the emergency room, we simply get an aspirin and told to go home. Our white counterparts, they're going to run ultrasound, MRIs, all sorts of diagnostic procedures. But we have to be, and I'm all about Black awareness, and we have to be more aware, and our Black churches have to take a different position. This can't be based on simply faith alone, and we've learned through COVID, a whole bunch of faith people died making poor choices. So we have to understand it has to be a combination of faith and science. And shame on you if you haven't gotten your vaccination. I'm concerned, and I want to remember this time a moment, because it'll be the first time in an interview I said, if we're not, and I just got a gut feeling about this, we don't take this serious. We thought it was bad the past year, we're going to have another one of those. Wearing masks, closing our businesses because people don't want to get a vaccination. So I just want to remind you, if that happens, and I hope it doesn't, that you have to own some ownership in it. Just be aware. As we talked earlier, the Jedi mind trick. Just be aware that manipulation at social media is at a height that most people have no clue how they're manipulated every day, manipulated by social media. In the last election, in the previous election before, the Russians chose the Black community to manipulate on social media. So I just want people to be mindful of that. That's all.
No, I think it's a fair point, and I know that Jedi mind trick is definitely one of your Dr. Knowles-isms. It is. Now I want to move on because we're going to be out of time soon, and I could talk to you all day. We could just keep this going. Tell me about you sitting on that side of the table now. You've had all this media training, right? And now you are the interviewer. How does it feel to move from music to media?
From music to media is fun. There's a time, as old people used to say, there's a time and a minute in our lives. I've had a wonderful career in the music industry, but it's a transition for me now. I've transitioned from the music industry to media, podcasts. There's 3 film and TV projects that will be announced soon. and that's where I am on public speaking and speaking out, and having the social courage to speak up, speak out sooner, quicker, faster about racism and sexism and homophobia and xenophobia and all the other phobias in America. That's where I am today. I enjoy I have a passion of speaking and teaching with young people. I teach at several universities that I really enjoy, and that's where I am today. And I'm loving it and having fun. And also, Shay, what's important to me, my artists, we work very hard for them to be number one, to be the best. I personally work very hard to have all of these awards and plaques. That's not my focus now. My focus is I wake up and go to bed every day with a wonderful woman, and we work on happiness. My number one goal in life is in happiness. So I tell people, and I'm very blunt, I don't do a damn thing I don't want to do. If I didn't want to do this interview, I just say, man, I don't want to do that. I don't do anything I don't want to do. And I'm grateful, I'm very blessed to say that I have this day in my life that I don't have to do things that I don't want to do. There were times in all of our lives that we did things we didn't want to really do, but we had to do them.
That's right.
I'm grateful that I'm not at that place right now.
I really like that you're doing the radio show, only because I feel like that you are just always teaching, and I feel like this is such a great classroom space for you. I've listened to every episode so far, and the best title for your radio show is Impact, because you are so impactful. Everything you've done is so impactful. I would say perfect job on choosing that word.
Well, we have to say it 3 times, because in marketing, we had to say it. It's the name of the podcast is Mathew Knowles Impact. I'm gonna say it again, Mathew Knowles Impact. I'm gonna say it one more time, Mathew Knowles Impact. And I was just fortunate to have the first season, and we'll start back up here in the next couple of months. Fortunate to have amazing guests, that have Al Sharpton, Congressman Shipman to come on, to have just a number from the music industry, Scarface to talk about near death with COVID, another Black man share their near death experience with COVID. And to have a multiple, not just Black folks, I had white folks as well, and we talked about racism and structural racism. And that's what we have to do, is to have a dialogue and for people to be totally honest about culturally we are different, and I want our young people to know their history, because a lot of our young people don't have a clue about slavery and its impact on us this moment. Slavery still has an impact on us, unfortunately. Mathew Knowles Impact, I'm excited about it. I'm excited about season 2 coming up.
The last thing, the wacky question I wanted to ask you was, what is your favorite song? Because you're playing a song on your podcast, and I wasn't familiar with that. So is that actually something they made for you, for something special?
No, actually, we created that song. We actually created that, but I explore a lot. There is this white female. The name of the group is Moonchild. That I'm listening to and loving it. This group called Moonchild.
Okay.
Anderson .Paak.
Yes.
I'm a fan, and Moonchild and Anderson .Paak is, that's what I'm listening to quite a bit.
I like it.
So that's what I'm listening to today, and I still listen to my old school Earth, Wind and Fire, Marvin Gaye. I'm one of those cats because I grew up in the 70s, and I still think the 70s was the best music that we had, because We had a lot to sing and talk about. We had Vietnam. We had segregation and desegregation movement. We had the hippies. It was the height of drugs in America. So there was a lot of things, a lot of people were dying, a lot of topics. And I was really disappointed that, using that analogy, that we didn't get those type of songs coming out of COVID. There's no real, I mean, I can name you 25 #1 songs that came out of those movements in the 70s. I can't name you one real hit that came out of COVID.
I agree with you.
I enjoyed this. I want to know, did my assistant know that you were wearing gray and black today? And did we plan this, or what happened?
Well, I only wear black and white for my show. I am a black, gray, white girl, so I need to move into your office. So this is as you can probably see, my design in the back. Everything is black and white. There's so much data that goes into colors and what you should present your brand and all these sorts of things. And black and white is not what you're supposed to be choosing. But
I think outside of the box. If they say that's not, then I'm gonna say, now how can I use that? Because I want to do what everybody's not doing. That's what I want to do. I don't want to do what everybody else is doing, but I want to do what they're not doing.
I definitely want to do what I want to do, for sure. I have your spirit in mind. I'm just excited that you decided to come and be with me on the Cool Careers podcast, because you've had an amazing career. We've learned everything from Alabama to Houston to Hollywood to back to Houston, right? And okay. I want to say thank you so much. It has been such an honor.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Knowles. You have a good one, okay? Thank you again.
All right, goodbye.
Bye-bye.